Coming up next here on Good Business Pinellas, we're traveling to the St. Petersburg College Gibbs campus to learn more about a national grant that the college is involved with, studying entrepreneurship and medical device clustering. The details are all coming up next on another edition of the Television of Business, Good Business Pinellas. I'm Mike Moore. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we're here on the Gibbs campus of St. Petersburg College, where we're going to tell you about an interesting grant and some research coming out of this grant. St. Petersburg College is one of many colleges involved in this national study. They're actually one of the colleges leading the way, studying a number of things, but what they're specifically interested in is studying entrepreneurship and medical device manufacturing and clustering. We're going to learn a little bit more about this grant, some of the things that they've learned, and even how they're applying that directly to the classroom. Later on in the program, Marcia Crawley, she's the director of Pinellas County Communications. She'll be along to interview Michael Sullivan. He's the director of entrepreneurship and medical device clustering initiatives here for St. Petersburg College. We'll have that conversation for you a little bit later on. Also, we're going to introduce you to one of the local companies that's a medical device manufacturer, Oscore. Libby Bowling is going to bring us their story, an interesting story of how they've literally reinvented themselves and changed and continued to be successful and growing, and a big part of that medical device clustering industries that are very important here in Pinellas County. We'll have that for you also a little bit later on in the program here on the Television of Business, Good Business Pinellas. Well, we're outside the campus here, the Gibbs campus of St. Petersburg College. This is the Department of Engineering Technology. In just a minute, we're going to take you inside for an interview with Marcia Crawley, where she's going to be speaking with Michael Sullivan. Now, Michael Sullivan is the director of the Entrepreneurship and the Medical Device Cluster Initiative. This is where they're actually combining two parts, entrepreneurship and the clusters of medical device manufacturers, which plays a very prominent role not just here in the state of Florida, but throughout Tampa Bay and specifically Pinellas County. So right now, let's join Marcia Crawley, who is the director of Pinellas County Communications, and Michael Sullivan for this interview about this program here as St. Petersburg College is once again leading the way. Marcia?
Thanks, Mike. And as you said, I'm joined by Michael Sullivan from St. Petersburg College. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today on Good Business Pinellas.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I actually came out of industry, so being at the college or university is a little bit new. I've been around 3 years now in the higher education setting. From an industry perspective, I worked about 20 years as an industry executive at both Pfizer and Baxter in the medical device industry, and then worked at GTE. And prior to coming to St. Petersburg a year ago, I was with the University of Massachusetts, helping them get an incubator off the ground, and also teaching in the business school there. Very, very glad to be here at St. Petersburg College. It's a great school, very progressive, and very glad to be doing what we're doing, which is essentially helping to draw higher education and the industry, the local community, together.
Well, that brings us to what really we're talking about today, which is an exciting grant that you all are implementing. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
Sure. It's a grant to study industry clusters, and local companies, concurrent technology corporations, actually received the grant, but St. Petersburg College is the lead college. There's 16 colleges throughout the country that are involved in it. But the essence of it was to study two defined clusters. One is medical manufacturers, biomedical companies, medical device companies, and the other is entrepreneurship. How we can help foster entrepreneurship in the medical device industry, as well as other industries like hospitalities and others. So it's really an exciting opportunity to work with a group of colleges throughout the country to help people study their local region and also combine it on a national basis.
So this really has a much larger scope than just here in Pinellas County or even in Florida.
Absolutely. It's on a nationwide basis. There's a lot of reasons. You want to think locally and act locally, but you also want to benchmark yourself against other colleges. And so what we've been able to do is pull together a group of colleges that have similar type clusters within their regions. And by doing that, we validate what we're doing across the country, but act locally and service the needs of the local cluster.
So you looked kind of, when you say cluster, you mean basically a group of business, and you kind of looked at that group of business here to get this grant.
Correct. There's, clusters are things that People recognize and absorb the word cluster now, but originally it was just groups that, companies and industries that form together, and they just come together. And there's a lot of things that government and mainly educational institutions can do to help foster a cluster. Once it's developed, there's a lot of the soft benefits. Clusters come together because people form companies and they leverage each other. The workforce, the incumbent workforce, and once that's identified, it's helpful if higher education institutions can help define programs that'll help feed off and make that cluster more competitive on a national and even international basis.
What was the main purpose of the grant? I mean, you want to carry this on to other people through education, not just intently focus on a business, correct?
Correct. The main purpose of the grant is to help to define ways and build bridges between industry and higher education institutions, and help to define programs that can better educate the incumbent workforce, because this is focused in on the community college level of the thing. And so the better we can help educate the incumbent workforce, the better it would be able for the local cluster to compete. The better it can compete, the stronger it becomes. The workers actually would get higher wages. It's a cycle that feeds upon itself. The higher the wages, the more income they get, the more they spend, the more tax revenue that comes in. And the more competitive the local companies, the more that they're able to pay their workforce better. So it's really a symbiotic relationship between industry and higher education.
So it does promote a benefit economically for the whole community, not just an education benefit, but an even bigger one.
Yeah, absolutely. Every college, university, one of the main things that they do is help educate their students. And if they turn out a better educated student, it's better for the local economy, it's better for the local companies. And this grant is particularly focused on identifying ways in which we can link and be stronger with the industry to make sure that our training programs are the right ones for them. The existing programs that are out there, and if we've missed some, if there's gaps that are needed to help foster the competitiveness of the local industry.
And what are some of the things, the main things you discovered as you explored this grant process?
We discovered that there is a lot of right in what's happening. A lot of the programs are really very positive, but we also discovered that there's a few areas that that were underserved in that, and mainly in the medical manufacturing area. It was the arena of regulatory affairs. In medical manufacturers, all companies need to gain regulatory approval prior to selling their product. And once it's approved, they need to make sure it's in compliance. And that transcends the whole company, all the employees of the company. And so we identified that as an area, and we have some programs now where that was the first year. We're actually in the second year of the grant. This year we're developing curriculum to help pass that knowledge on throughout the company. And next year we'll be implementing it. So we're pretty excited about it.
That's pretty exciting, not just for us, but
yes,
across the country, as you pointed out. Now, you mentioned clusters. It's apparently important to keep certain businesses together, as in medical manufacturing, correct?
Yes, they kind of feed on themselves. In the initial stages, they go there because there's certain uniqueness about the area or the entrepreneurs that started it. But as it grows to critical mass, there's so much more that especially higher education can do to help foster that cluster. It's the serendipity effect. It's them coming together, networking, solving common problems. And then out of that, there's actually service organizations that help and focus in on that cluster, the insurance, the real estate, etc. And it builds upon itself. So it is a phenomenon that helps to grow. And for every job that's created in that individual cluster, there are many more that's created outside of it.
So they kind of feed on each other in a way. And you help to foster that relationship through the education.
Correct. And there's education at the college level, but there's also industry trade associations. Like there's a local one that handles the state of Florida. It's called the Florida Medical Manufacturers Association. They do educational programs working with the local colleges, bringing in experts to talk about lecture series, whereas the colleges focus on training of the incumbent workforce and the employee base.
And you also focused on one business, which we're going to explore a little further in the program.
Correct.
But first, this is probably a really good time to take a break and to come back and talk about one of those businesses in a few minutes. So, Mike, let's toss it back to you.
All right, thank you, Marcy, and we're looking forward to going back and joining Marcy a little bit later on in the program as she continues her conversation with Michael Sullivan. You know, at the end of her interview, Michael had mentioned the Florida Medical Manufacturers Consortium. Just to give you an idea of why this is important, how big it is for perspective, well, the medical manufacturing industry here in Tampa Bay employs nearly 10,000 individuals, and they have an estimated payroll of nearly $500 million per year. Some very significant numbers. Shows you why this industry is so important here in the Bay Area, and specifically Pinellas County. Now, when we come back from our break, we're going to introduce you to one of those companies that's involved with medical manufacturing, Oscore. Libby Bowling will bring us their interesting details on how they've reinvented themselves. And we'll go back and learn more as Marcia Crawley continues her interview with Michael Sullivan. It's the television of business, Good Business Pinellas, as we roll on here from St. Petersburg College, Gibbs campus. Stay with us.
Thank you, Libby, for giving us a closer look at Oscore. And to learn more about the company, I'm joined by Michael Sullivan again with St. Petersburg College. Thanks for being back with us, Michael.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about how Oscore was selected, how you all managed to identify Oscore and select them for the program.
Sure. As I said before in the grant, we were studying two areas, medical device manufacturing and entrepreneurship. And so what we decided to do here at St. Pete College was identify an entrepreneur that was in the medical device business. And Oscore Medical was a natural fit from that aspect of it. Locally, there's a large cluster of industry, of companies that participate here. And nationally as well as locally, a number of the companies are under 50 employees, so they fit that entrepreneurial nature. Oscore itself seemed to fit well because of the transitions it's made and because of the history of it itself. It started as a distribution company. It vertically integrated from distribution to marketing and sales and development, and then finally into manufacturing. And it is a state-of-the-art manufacturing entrepreneurial company.
What does it take to basically sort of reinvented this company in a way, right?
Yes, no, they did. They focused in on one area from a market standpoint, and that is cardiology. So it's products, pacemaker leads, products that's used in the cardiology thing. They developed some products, mainly in Germany, and they began distributing them here in the United States. But then again, they went beyond that and brought the manufacturing over. And now they're a fully integrated development, research, development, manufacturing, and marketing and sales company in their particular niche, which is cardiology. Very impressive company.
That just seems like it would be so difficult to pull off, to go into a company and sort of turn it into something else when you're done.
Yeah.
Was it hard?
That is, and you know, they'll also say that as well. And one of the things that we really have a benefit from Oscore and this program that we're doing is doing these case studies on these entrepreneurs so we can get the experiences that these folks have had and bring it into the classroom. So future entrepreneurs can understand what the issues are that they went through. So as they embark and mature, they'll have a higher probability of success if they choose to follow those paths. So we thank Oscore for helping us, have those lessons learned. And that's also going to be used on a national basis. So not only did we do an example of Oscore locally from a case study example, and what we've profiled from Oscore is how to diversify your customer base, but some of the other community colleges around the country did a focus one as well. So we packaged all those case studies so people can use them in the classroom to help teach future entrepreneurs some of the issues that they'll be coming against as they go forward.
What were some of the main things you learned as you went through this process with Oscore?
The main things we learned were there's a lot of the things that entrepreneurs face are the things that everybody faces as they go through these cycles. So that's why it is so important for us to be able to get good examples, local good examples of some of the issues, so people will understand. They'll have a little bit of a learning curve if they do choose to embark on that area.
So this company seemed rather willing to be sort of a guinea pig for you all, it seems.
Oh, they were great, and they are a great example of here, locally, entrepreneurship, and they're also a great example of high-tech manufacturing, because what they've done from going from distribution to fully integrating manufacturing here, what they're manufacturing is state-of-the-art, and it really would hold up to anyone in the country from that aspect of it. They do metals processing and plastics processing on a top level.
Now, you all are just beginning to start implementing this in the classroom, are you not? How's that going?
Correct. The first year was to help develop in the entrepreneurship, help develop unique and original case studies that people can use. And this year we're beginning to now implement them into the classrooms across the country. And from a medical device standpoint, that training the first year was identifying the needs of the industry. And this year now, the second year, is developing curriculum, coursework, that will help fill those gaps in those needs. And next year we'll be implementing them. So we're really excited about it.
I would think that students are going to be able to get so much more out of seeing a hands-on example versus just using a textbook.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's one of the reasons we're here on the engineering technology group here, is a lot of it is the hands-on experience. Not only is it going to be good for students, but we're hopeful and optimistic that the industry will hire these students, and as they get in there better educated, they'll be more competitive.
Thank you so much, Michael, and best luck with the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll toss it back to Mike.
All right, thank you, Marcia. It's great to have Marcia Crawley joining us here on Good Business Pinellas. I imagine we're going to see a little bit more of her from time to time here on the show. Now, if you'd like to learn more about what you've just seen about St. Petersburg College and all the many programs they have here, well, it's very easy. You can visit their website at spcollege.edu. And if you'd like to learn more about Oscore, the company that Libby Bowling introduced us to, well, it's very easy. You can visit their website as well. That's oscore.com. It's the television of business, Good Business Pinellas. We thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you'll catch us next time for another edition of the television of business. Take care.